Welcome back to Profi Plays. I'm Profi, and we're picking up here with Shadowdark. I believe session number 9 or 10 or something. It's been a few. Uh, 8. Okay, session 8. Okay, off to a great start, Professor. Right, so we're starting off here with session 8. So where we have been last time. So we have our two PCs here. We have Sariel and Varos, the wizard and fighter, here in Shadowdark. Where we have been, we use the sandbox generator to generate our world. And so we have been wandering about this world trying to solve the mystery. The mystery was, what is it that was going on in King's Ham when there were few unexplained things? One, horses going crazy, and two, a will-o-wisp that shows up, leads a bunch of the townspeople out. Some of them just vanish, never come back. Some of them we did manage to rescue from the swamp nearby where they were in this cave, which had something to do with deteriorating luck, was what we learned. So we have wandered around, hit various locations. The last thing that we did, we visited the sorceress, wizard, whatever, Ophelia, who was here, like, in this tower. Like, we thought that she might possibly be responsible for what was going on because of some connection she had with an abbey that was an enemy of a friend of King's Ham. It was very tangled stuff going on. But she claims, right, that she had a vision that she should help us. So she brought us back to her tower. We didn't actually have to fight her at all. Instead, she gave to Sariel a sword that is the unholy blade of the Archmage, which is a +2 sword, +3 against priest because it's unholy. I figured it seems reasonable. Um, so that's where we are. All right. So our lead at this point, now her claim is that this nearby castle here is only a couple miles from her tower. So we're in the tower here. Castle's just here. It's kind of in the plains here. She claims that they possibly may have something to do with it. She claims that whoever it is that is there, right, is possibly the villain. So I ended last time because I needed to find out more about who this person is. So this is what we know about this castle. We head off toward this castle. This is, I believe, I'm going to say that we have spent the night, so that anybody who needs to heal can heal. I don't think that we needed that at this point. Where did the character sheets go? Oh, it's under here. There it is. Yeah, yeah. So we're all healed up and everything. I forgot Cyril had so few hit points. Just has 6 hit points. That's it. All right. So between the two of them, they have 10 hit points. Yeah. Gosh. So we don't get into any fights. Okay. In any case, we are heading toward this castle. Uh, so we leave uh, the forest about a mile from um, Ophelia's tower, and we can see the castle in the distance as we come out of the forest. I'm going to say this is morning that we went. So we can see from a distance, uh, kind of up on a hill, kind of up on this mound, a fairly large a keep there. It's not very tall. It's only a couple levels tall. Iron spikes on it. It's very clearly very old, very overgrown. There's ivy all over everything. There is also lots of fighters around in kind of the village around it. So that is what we know at this point, right? So we approach the castle. Now, as we approach the castle, we need to find out what their reaction to us is. Right, so roll for reaction. So we will, as is typically the case. For me, I'm going to have this roll. Varos is the leader for some reason. He's not nearly as competent as his companion Serial. So I'm going to do a reaction check here. So we just need 2d6 and then add charisma mod of -2. Oh, that turned out almost as well as it could have. So we've got neutral. So as we approach the castle, there are guards that stop us, want to know what our business is. And I think that we can give them a, not necessarily reasonable, but a passable story that we're here investigating some things that have been happening in the area, and we're hoping that there may be some information, possibly, that the Lord of the Castle could share with us. This is the castle, by the way. The name of this castle is Dusthook. So, welcome to the castle, Dusthook. So, I'm going to say, yeah, we are shown in, right, to meet Lord Riarden. Riarden is an elf, a very well groomed, purple eyes, seems to be a very friendly person, all that. So we have a discussion with him, and I want to find out, can we actually learn anything, right, through the course of this discussion? Right, so that's my question here. So I think we're going to use charisma for this, and I'm going to say it's going to be a difficulty of 10, so something like that. So let's go ahead and roll. We've got a -2 on this. Okay, so that was a 15, adjusted 13. Yes, so we got some information out of him. So the question is, what is the nature of that information? So one thing I want to, so let's go ahead and just pull up prompts and see what it is that he tells us. A 70, that's win, 82. Win nourishment. Oh, okay. Right, so we want to get information out of him, and he, in effect, pulls an Esther. Right, says, okay, well, so here's what we're going to do. I will just have, so you can see them better. There we go. So Uh, I'm going to have a feast tonight, thanks to your arrival. So I'm very happy to have you. So come to the feast and we can talk then. Right. So it is kind of a delaying tactic of sorts. We're here early in the morning, so we have all day to snoop around. Is the idea. Right. So I'm going to say, like, he shows us some rooms in the keep. It's not a very big keep, right? But I would guess there is perhaps a guest room, right? That the two of us would be sharing. Right, now he does have lots and lots of like guards around. There, it's a very well guarded keep, even if there aren't a whole lot of external defenses as far as that goes. He has 150 soldiers around. That's that is his defense. So I'm curious here. I want us to like do some searching around. So both Varos and Sariel, I'm making the assumption here that we do have the freedom to at least wander about, right, the castle and the associated village, and to see what's up right here. So let's go ahead and do some wandering and see if we find anything of interest. So I'm just going to roll. This is going to be a wisdom roll, right? So first for Varos. Varos rolls a natural 1, so no, nothing interesting as far as Varos is concerned. Meanwhile, Serial rolls a 13 at a -1, so it's still a 12. The 12 is pretty good, right? So I'm going to say that yes, as is apparently typically the case, Serial proves to be the more competent of the two, and ends up discovering something of note. So the question is, what is that something of note? I think it would make sense for this to be a rumor. So I'm going to pull up from my tables here that I've downloaded. I'm flipping through them. Oh, no, no, no. Print it out with the table. Yeah, it's not there. It's in here. Okay. Yeah, I was super excited because I recently got a new printer, and this printer actually can do like automatic double-sided stuff, and I can print little booklets. So it's great stuff. All right, so I can flip through here and rumors. So this is going to be what we learn. 41? No, I just need one roll. A dwarven mining team has uncovered a tentacled statue. Interesting. Right, so as he is, poking about, stopping in at, you know, taverns, what have you, some things that are in the village here around, is directly around this castle, but, you know, listening to what guards are saying, the like, it sounds like there's been a mining operation going on somewhere, and that a statue, right, of some kind was unveiled there. Now, this is interesting. So the question is, where might this have happened? Okay. So I'm looking here at my map. So a few things that stand out to me, which this might not be the most legible map from where you are. Right, so we're right here. So now there are some, like here, this is the mountains, and there is some kind of landmark here. We have no idea what kind of landmark it is. We also have hills around here, also with landmarks. I'd also note there's a dungeon here, which is only one, two, so it's like 6 miles away to get to that dungeon. There is, however, 4 miles away this dungeon as well, another 6 miles this dungeon. So it makes sense to me that it might be one of these dungeons or possibly if there's a cave here in one of these kind of landmark areas. Uh, I know these are also lairs here, so it would at least be believable to me. Uh, there could be something like that as well. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and ask the Oracle this question to see if I can narrow down what it is. Right, so it says this dwarven mining team that has uncovered this, but is this in a dungeon? So anything 11 and higher is a yes. I ended up with a 3, so it's not in a dungeon, so therefore it would be in a cave. That seems to follow naturally. So I think the most obvious thing is that there's a cave right here. Right, so that would um be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So be 7. It's just the numbering system that I use. B 7. So that's the rumor. Right, then in B7 there's a cave where this you know, statue, this tentacled statue, has been unveiled. So this is something that I find very interesting because it is very possible that this is having some kind of impact. So I think maybe that is the clue that we are going to be taking right now because that's the lead we have. So there we go. All right. So I think that certainly Sariel is going to share this information with Varos in kind of the mid-afternoon, right, as they're talking, checking in with each other, that kind of thing. Varos reports that he didn't have any luck turning up anything interesting. Meanwhile, Sariel says, "Oh, well, let me tell you something. Apparently, dwarves in a nearby cave here in a B7 have uncovered a tentacled statue of some kind amidst their mining. So that is something that is of note. Right. Now, I'm wondering whether there was any talk of it having kind of magical effects or anything like that, but I think that I'm just going to leave it at that because I'm going to say this is something that was overheard, and Serial didn't really want to be suspicious or anything like that. Like, so he's not, going to be like, going to be like, you know, inquiring too much about this. He doesn't want to call that much attention to himself as it is. Right, so I think that we're going to save that for when we meet with the Lord of the Castle, Lord Riarden. That's obviously not it because that sounds like it was the name of a Ayn Rand character. Um, oh, I'm not far off. Riarden. So Lord Riarden who we meet for dinner. So I'm curious here. It's when we meet Riarden for dinner. Now, his personality, which I have rolled up previously, is that he's a fairly friendly person in general, right? So that is his general approach, his general demeanor is that he is friendly. So he is going to be fairly magnanimous and what, gregarious, I think is the term. Gregarious, that's it. Right. So in any case, he's going to be, chatting with us, so fairly seemingly open, but I don't know that he's necessarily that open in reality. But at the very least, I think we need to ask him about this question. So, like, does he know anything about? We heard that there were some great mining operations going on in the nearby mountains, down to the southeast, I believe. Yes, down to the southeast. So, can you tell us more about that? Right? Is that something like have you found anything of interest? So that's the question. So I'm curious what he is going to say. Right. So I think we're going to roll here. I'm going to roll again. this is going to be Varos's charisma, so it's again at a -2. And that is a natural 20, which feels like it's a big waste of a 20, but there it is, a natural 20. Okay. Oh, yep. Tip when I moved it. Okay, so that would be a yes. Another thing that gets me another luck token, which is nice. So I'm up to 2 luck tokens. Okay, so and so yeah. I mean, he's apparently very happy, right, to talk about this. So I'm curious then. So we're going to start asking him questions. So I'm going to say that we have the opportunity here to get a couple questions asked of him that he will answer honestly. Right. So let's find out how many questions that is. I'm just going to roll a d4. Okay, so 2 questions. I get to 2 questions with honest answers. The first question is, has have there been reports of any kind of magical effects coming from this statue to this point? The answer is a no. Right. Now, technically, it's an odd number, which means it's a no, but. Right, so I'm thinking that here that there are reports of there being some kind of magical energy or something like that, even if they haven't seen specific magical effects at this point. Yeah. So that's the way that I'm going to rule that one. So it does seem like there is magical energy surrounding or an aura, something like that, around the statue, even if they haven't actually noticed any specific effects from it. The second question I want to ask is, uh, were they there looking for the statue? Right, so did they have like a hint that it was going to be there? 7. That's another no but. Right, so I think that tells us here, no, that they didn't actually know there's anything specific here, but there have that they but this cave has some kind of history where that made them suspect there was something magical about what was going on in this cave. Yep. So I think that at this point, right, we're fairly happy with what we've got here. Right, so I think it makes sense that we are going to um, call it a night. We're going to thank the Lord Riarden for his hospitality at this point, but that we really need to excuse ourselves and that we may possibly be going to investigate what's happening in that cave, being the most obvious thing we're going to do. All right, so I think that's what we're going to do here. Right, so we're going to go and we're going to check out this cave. So the big question in my mind is, do we have some kind of random encounter on the way? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and roll. Again, when we check for a random encounter, it's a 1, I believe, that shows up as a random encounter. No, no random encounter on the way there. Right, so we get to this cave. I'm curious how big the cave is. Right, so I'm just going to kind of roll the d20. The larger the number is, the larger the cave is. Right, so 2, it's a very small cave. Okay, so it's a very small cave when we get there. I would suggest that means there are only like 2, 3 chambers. So it's not very big, which means that the dwarves here that were, digging around didn't have to dig very far. That is one thing. So I think that while this is in fact a natural cave, at the same time, so it's a natural cave, but you know what? There's something I want to do here. Right. So one of the things that I can do here is check for what the landmarks are like. So 17. Okay. So we know one of the things that's here is a landmark, but I also want to check about other landmarks here. So I'm going to use my sandbox generator, which I have now printed out at least pieces of. All right, so first thing, there is a natural landmark here. Right, so that natural landmark, I can find out more about it by rolling on a different page. Okay, so natural landmark is in the form of geology and 3 rock hole. Okay, well, there we go. So yeah, that's the landmark say. Now we can also roll for contents here, right? So what else is here? Because we are exploring, I think we are going to run into whatever. So this contents, the contents would be the contents of this hex. And because we are exploring this hex, we are going to run into a hazard of some kind. So let's find out something about what this hazard would be. Right, so the hazard, I'm going to pull out my hazards table from Shadowdark. Right, so Shadowdark, it's going to be, well, what type of hazard is it? It's a weakening hazard, right? So as we enter this cave, what do we run into? Number one, a blinding smoke. Okay, right. So as we walk in, do we have anything to help us deal with the blinding smoke? I don't think we do. Another thing, because it's dark, we're going to use a torch. So Varos, I think, yeah, Varos is the one with fewer inventory slots. So he lights his torch, which means we get 10 turns now. All right. So I'm going to have him just kind of do more strict. There's my counter. So I'm going to have him do more strict. He does, that kind of thing. All right. So here on this turn, what are we going to do? Right. So Varos first. Varos lights the torch. That's what he does this turn. Then Sariel. Okay, so we just got hit in the face with a bunch of blinding smoke. Do we have anything that can possibly help with this? I think the answer is actually no, we don't. But what we can do, um, I know. Let's pull out the pole, right? So Cesaro has a long pole that he has, strapped to his back. So he's going to pull it out, right, and start just like poking the ground in front of him. We can't really see through the smoke very well. Plus, it's dark, right? So he's poking the ground in front of him just to see if he happens to come upon any holes or traps or anything like that, right? So that's the one question. So does he come upon a hole or a trap? I think it's unlikely. We know that the doors are already in here. They didn't seem to have set anything off. So that's why I'm rolling twice. And we got two sixes, so both of them say no. Okay. So no, so there are no traps here, at least at this point. He's going to keep operating this way. All right, so we're counting down here to 9. Okay, so the next thing then that Varos is going to do. I'm kind of nervous about this space, to be 100% honest. Right, so I think that maybe what he's going to do is cast Mage Armor. Right, so I think that he wants to get his Mage Armor up and working. So let's go ahead and do that. So this is a level 1 spell, which means it is a DC 11. Rolls a 6, he gets to add 2. Okay, that's a fail. So he tries to get his mage armor up. It just doesn't happen. So he does not have access to mage armor again until he manages a long rest. All right. Then back over to Sariel. Okay. So the question is this blinding smoke still here in the next room? I don't know. The answer is no, right? So we get into the room, and the smoke was apparently just focused around the entrance. Once we get through it, it's not in our eyes anymore. I assume that we're going to be coughing a little bit or something like that. We are okay once we get into the room. So now we are in a new room. So the question is, how many rounds has that been? I don't remember off the top of my head, but this is round number 2. So what kind of situation is this? Is this a safe situation? Is it a dangerous situation? Possibly. Is it a deadly situation? I suspect not. Right, so unsafe, risky, and deadly. I think we're in a risky situation. So every 2 rounds, we need to check for a random. Okay. So we did it on the way in. So I'm going to say when it flips over to 8, we'll check for a random encounter. So what is Serial doing in the meantime? Well, we made it through the smoke, so that means there's a 25% chance of there being some kind of treasure in here, according to the sandbox generator. This will be good because that'd be a way of us actually getting some XP. All right, so because I'm using that one as a counter, I'm going to pull out another D10 out of my bag. I rolled a 29, so that's a no. So there's not treasure in here. Okay, cool. So this room, so yeah, so Sarah looks around to see if there happens to be like anything obviously hidden in this room. Obviously hidden. What a great phrase. And the answer seems to be no. Right? Nothing obviously hidden. So, next thing we do, countdown, next round. Is there a random encounter? There's not. Okay. Right. So, I think that we have established there's really not much in this room, so it's time for us to move on into the next room. Right, so we go through this room into the next one. What is the next room like? Well, let's see. I think it makes sense to me because we've established this is small. This is probably going to be where the statue is. So is this where the statue is? Likely, and it came up as a 14 as the higher of the two, so that's a yes. So this is the room where the tentacled statue is. Okay, cool. So Varos and Sariel, we move into the next room. We see the tentacled statue there, and I think we're going to try to examine it. Right, so I think Varos is going to take the lead on this one, is going to examine it using his intelligence. So as a wizard, he's going to try to determine, is there something about this that seems magical? Okay, 13 plus 2, that's a 15. Okay, so I think he is able to determine whether or not there's something magical about this. So is there? That seems likely based on what we've heard in the past. He establishes 18. Yes, there's definitely something magical about this, right? So there is definitely some kind of magical aura or effect or something like that. So that tells us what he's going to be doing. Our next turn is figuring out what that is. Okay. Serial, in the meantime, I think he doesn't really have a whole lot that he wants to do, right? So I think that he is just going to kind of be searching this room to see if there's anything that he notices. So he's just going to roll for wisdom. He gets a 5. Yeah, I don't think that'd be enough to find anything if there's anything hidden here that the dwarves wouldn't have already found, right? So that's a no, right? So we are counting down to 7. Now, all right. So the next thing we want to do, Varos is going to do some more investigating of the this tentacled statue itself, and see if he can figure out what kind of magical effect this is. Right. So I think that is what he's going to do. So investigating this again using his intelligence. Be background noble is not relevant here. So 5 is not going to be particularly helpful. Right. So even at the plus 2, that's a 7. So that's not. He would only figure out the most obvious, easy stuff. And I don't think this is enough, really, for him to be able to determine much. Cyril, in the meantime, I don't think that he really feels like he has a whole lot to do. I'm going to go ahead and just rule there are no exits from here, at least no obvious exits. So I think that Cyril at this point is really just kind of standing guard. So he is ready if, in case somebody shows up in the form of a random encounter, which is very possible because we're just flipping down the 6. So is there a random encounter? There is not. It's a 6. All right, so Daenerys is going to try again, and still not much success. I guess 9, 11. That might be enough because he knows that he's looking for something here. So I guess the question that okay, I'm going to say that's good enough for me to be able to ask a question, and that is, uh, is this? Because I don't want to skip right to, is this the thing that we want? Because we need more evidence, right? So okay, this is a good one. So does this seem to have some kind of intelligence attached to it? So that's the question. So is this aura the kind of thing that would imply an intelligence? I don't know. The answer is a 10, which is a twist. Cool. Okay, so for the twist, we pull out the prompts table and roll on it. So what's the prompts table say? It says 81, so fumble 53, fumble honor. Fumble honor. So I need an interpretation here. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna go with this. We're gonna go with this. Okay, so as he's investigating, and he's getting in, he's kind of, and I think that because the reality is this, Varos is not the most competent of people, right? His dexterity is not terrible, right? But it's not great either. So I think it's perfectly plausible that he is going to trip and knock over the statue that was discovered. So the statue gets knocked over. So the question is, right, is that going to create some kind of obvious negative effect? That I don't know. Let's find out. Is there some obvious negative effect that follows from the statue being knocked over? Now, I very well might be damaged, if nothing else. So the answer is yes, there is an obvious negative effect that happens. So obviously there's damage here, but I think it makes sense that there would be also some kind of like magical mishap or something like that that happens. And I don't think that I have the magical mishap table printed out, do I? No, I don't. Okay. One other possibility. Ooh, this could be a trap. Oh, that's possible. So does it trip a trap? That's an 11. That'd be a yes. Technically, yes, but a yes is what we need here. So what kind of trap do we have here that we just tripped? Two, it says hail of needles. Ooh, that's not good. The trigger we already know, that is like moving, I assume, the statue. Right, and what is the damage or effect of it? Oh gosh. Well, 12 is a 3d10. Okay, well, here. I mean, with Varos having the HP that he does, he will die. He will die as long as I don't roll a 1 3 times on this thing. So we've got a 5, yeah, that by itself. Okay. Right, so Varos is down to 0 HP, which means he has how long? You get to roll a d4, I believe, and then add your Constitution modifier, which is a +1. Right, so he has 4 rounds. So he rolled a 3, and then I just bumped it up to 4 because he does have a +1 on his Constitution to try to not die. Uh, yeah, the whole dying thing is a great thing. All right, so that's how long we have, and I believe that he gets to make saves every turn, if I recall correctly, when you're trying not to die. Yes. Right, so on his turn he gets to roll a d20. If he rolls a 20, then okay. We're good. Stabilizing is another thing, so a DC 15 int check, then the target would stop dying. Okay. So this is what we're gonna do. So Varos, this thing gets knocked over, and there is immediately a hail of needles, right, that poke into him, and he's down. He is down. So the question is he actually dead yet? So we do have 4 rounds to figure that out. Now we are in a precarious situation here, because let me knock Varos over. Uh, so Varos is down. Sariel, Sariel is going to try to administer some kind of first aid or something like that to him. 3 is not going to be sufficient. Okay, back over to Varos's turn. If Varos rolls a 20, then he's out of it. He does not roll a 20. Right, so we've got 3 more turns here potentially to save him. So Sariel is going to again be administering first aid and fail miserably with a 4. Okay. Oh gosh. Now Sariel does have intelligence of um actually has +2 intelligence. That's pretty good. So he only has to roll a 14 or higher in order to save him, which is very possible. He has a couple more turns. All right. Okay. So that was that. Back over to Varos's turn. The first thing we need to check now, because we just hit 2, let's check if we have a random encounter. We do not. So that's good. So Cyril again is going to try to save him. 11 plus 2 is 13. Not good enough. We need a 15 to save him. Then we have Varos is trying to rally. It's a 13. Again, not good enough. So this counter goes down. I got that order mixed up, didn't I? Doesn't matter. Okay, then next round. So we're down to. So our torch is burning down, which is a really good thing. All right. Meanwhile, this is not good. So Varos makes the first roll. Does not, in fact, get a 20, so he gets one last round potentially to try to save himself before he dies. And then Sariel rolls an 11 plus 2, 13, not good enough. And then we're down to round 2. That again means we need to check for random encounters. 3 is not a random encounter. Okay. Then Varos gets a chance to save himself at a 20. and rolls a 6 instead. So that would, in fact, mean Varos have died. Right. So, despite the fact that here for several minutes, Sarah was trying to administer some first aid, trying to pick needles out, trying to treat him in some way, it's not working. Varos trying internally to rally himself. It is not working. Right. He is in very, very bad shape. And Varos is going back to the box. I think this might be a good place for us to stop. So this is Prof E signing off.